Hey everybody, am I on and are we live and can you hear me? I have this nifty little headset, so hopefully the sound will be better. So sign in and let me know if you can hear me. Um, I posted on Facebook that it's going to be very free form tonight. I am so friggin' uh, tired, exhausted. I mean, all in a good way. It's been a crazy 48 hours. Um, Do you want to hear about the last 48 hours? While you type me questions? Hey Nora, hey Kristen, hey Jason, Soul Drifter, Carrie, and Jan, and Julie, and oh my gosh, Chantal, I'm not saying that right. Can you believe we all like didn't know each other like a year or 16 months ago? Total insomnia buddies. Well, speaking of insomnia, that's one reason I'm so exhausted. 2 nights ago, I guess it was Monday night. Total insomnia. I literally slept 20 minutes that night. And then last night we did the radio show, and then Bruce and I went out to dinner at Casa Vega in the Valley after the radio show. Had a great time, and got home. And as I was like winding things up to post the episode, um, it just kind of hit me. Steve Gray, the wonderful blogger, he may be there. You are, Steve. Mr. Steve Gray started emailing me and telling me how much he liked the episode. And something about those emails, Steve, it just hit me like a brick wall that we're here. Oh, thanks, Kristen. Yeah, it just hit me that we made it. We're at the end of the season and much further and better than I ever thought it would be. And sobbed like a baby until off and on. And then Steve posted his, because he's in New Zealand. It's already tomorrow, so right at midnight he posted his blog, which if you saw it on Facebook today, it could have been nicer if I wrote it myself. It was very nice, Steve. Thank you. So then more blubbering and bawling. So I went to McDonald's at 1:30 in the morning trying to get a grip, and it was up till about 3:30 crying, and then at about 7:30 and like, boing, the new episode, you got to get online, you got to start posting and promoting. And so yeah, it's been, and then of course crying most of today because everyone's feedback has been incredible. So okay, that's my backstory, as we actors like to say. And I'm actually going to start tonight. Lawrence is not here. Oh no, I'm poorly, prepared. I have to go take 5 seconds to grab something. Start writing me questions. Seriously, I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh shit. Ugh. Okay. I'm back. I am back. All right. Well, no, I was hungry. I realized I hadn't eaten for a long time, and I think it was part of my emotional blah 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 blah. Anyway, I'm going to start. I'm going to finish something that Nathan started earlier today and has been trying to do for 2 seasons now. Lawrence isn't here, so shh. It's just us, right? It's just us. Mm. Steve, I wish I had cocaine. I've only tried it like twice, and it's not for me. But right now, I could use it anyway. A dildo. I am so wigged out. You guys. Who knows? Ask me anything. I'm not promising any kind of. My inner censor is gone, so eating is cheating. Yes, yes, that was David Whiting, the guy in today's episode who said, "Shut up out there and no smoking in WeHo." He's the same guy who, in the season finale last season, when Nathan was coming out of the shrink's office and talking to Ross on the phone, he was the guy who's like, "No smoking in WeHo. Can't you read?" So yeah, we wanted to put him in there. He also played the rabbi in David Ross's wedding flashback in the wedding episode. Oh, Nora, you're nice. Oh, tell him, Jan. He and his brother were back here the other day. Um, I can't remember what they were watching. It might have been Carole King. They're both big Carole King fans, and they were watching some interview or something on the computer and smoking, and I was stunned. He never smokes back here. Never lets me smoke back here. But when the cat's away, the mice will smoke. So, so ask me questions. What do you guys think? Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of your posts already, so I guess that's kind of a stupid question. What do y'all think about the calendar idea? That was Glenn Drake's idea, by the way. Um, and he had posted on Facebook because he saw the picture of JPO in that leather harness, and said, "Oh, I'll buy a picture of that." So, and then he said, "Yeah, maybe you should do a calendar." And it's like, and everyone on Facebook liked the idea. I've emailed the cast, and so far I've heard from about probably half of them, and that includes like recurring regulars and guest stars. So we'll see how many say yes, and I think it actually might be a really good idea. Blog's been good about posting the show. Have the U.S. Oh, Steve, don't get me started. I've actually had a couple arguments with a couple blogs, actually, who've criticized me for my aggressive promotion. I'm realizing the problem with gay blogs in the U.S. at least, and I don't know, I mean, it could be the problem with all of them everywhere, is that it's the same with like magazines or anything else. They want something on the cover that's going to sell, and they would much rather. Well, the problem is twofold. The blogs would much rather post photos of 20-something guys on speedos or whatever, or the latest Madonna Gaga news, which is fine. There's a place for that, but that they don't want to do anything else because they don't want to be, I think, tagged as they're old or whatever. But I think the second prong of the problem is too that and this just deep insight that just hit me the past day or two. The second prong of the problem is that I think many gay men my age really would rather watch anything but a show about gay men my age, because it's kind of like looking in a mirror. Um, that's not the profound part of it. The profound part I thought was I was thinking in terms how that relates to our really terrific female fans who technically, according to YouTube, are only 10% of our audience. I'm not sure about that, and why they embrace the show. Women my age embrace the show more than men our age, and I think it's actually because a lot of you are moms, and I think when you're a parent, you cannot ignore the passage of time. You're staring you in the face every morning at breakfast, every night when you tuck them in, and it flies by so fast when you see a kid grow up. When you're gay and don't have that, and it's changing because some gay people more and more are becoming parents now. When you don't have that, I mean, myself, I think the past 15 years it was like 5 minutes. No, I'm really still just, 38. So that's my big, brilliant insight for the night. I told you, I warned you I was so. Okay. Oh, good questions. Okay. So that's a question about the blogs. Calendar, yes. Okay. Talk to my sister about. We'll leave my sister out of this one. Who cried? Who cried watching it? I cried the first 3 times I watched the first 3 cuts. Lawrence cried the first time he watched the cut. I've cried a few times watching it since, but for me, it's like, it's also because it's symbolic of, a completion and a dream come true and all that stuff. So I don't know how much for me is the story and how much is, um, yeah, we'll see if we can get Jeffrey to wear that harness in the calendar. Why does Nathan have such bad luck with therapists? I'm not anti-therapy. I think a good therapist is great. Unfortunately, like most professions, there are more bad ones than good ones. A good one can be life-changing, and I've had one or two. Most of them are cray-cray, as Rylan would say. So, yeah, but it's just fun, It's like something about being in a therapist's office, In what other situation would you put yourself in that situation of divulging your secrets to a stranger? Unless you're on the internet, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Nathan is a therapist to his friends. I gotta scroll up. You guys, oh, good questions galore. See, I'm just rambling. I'm not reading. See, it helps to have Lawrence here going, Leon, you're ignoring the questions. Okay. Nathan is a therapist to his friends. Although, Julie Egan, if you're on tonight, I remember she and I chatted a lot after the first season about how kind of Nathan was not being used by his friends, but was kind of wimpy and didn't really have a life of his own, so I'm hoping she's liking what happened this season. Nathan certainly had a life of his own this year. Um, okay, Emily, I made you cry. Did you really cry hard? Yeah. And yes, Steve, the youth obsession. It, it's I think it's similar to the whole love hate thing I think women have with the fashion industry. You know, they love it, but then it also marginalizes and objectifies them. It's tough. Katie can't get a trick to the Ustream picture. I'm totally stupid, Katie. I don't know anything about this stuff other than you turn it on and if it says it's running, it's on. And um, oh God, oh no. You can hear me though, right? I'll try to be more interesting vocally to make up for the lack of a photo or a video. Um, thank you, Nora. Thank you. Uh, Steve cried. Yeah, it's. Terry cracked me up too. That was so much fun to shoot that with her. We shot that really quickly. That was the first day of shooting when we shot that scene. Okay, good. Lots of people cried. Okay, I'm getting caught up now. Um, Ryland's great in that scene. He actually he Do you want to know the background of that actual scene? Because that was not written, when I was in Indiana writing all the scripts. I actually wrote that scene later when I got back when we were starting to cast, and I was talking to Ryland about the character. And up to that point, Damien in the scripts was kind of an enigma. There wasn't, you could have played it any number of ways. So I promised him I would write a scene for him to audition with that would give backstory, like the fact that he's never met his dad, I think, though obvious and probably cliche, I think is still telling. So I wrote it, he did it. He was so brilliant in that audition. I watched that scene, his audition tape, a lot, and it may end up in the special next week. That's part of it. But yeah, so then it's like, okay, now I have to write an episode, and it turned out to be like an episode and a half leading up to it. So the pretty much everything from the cabaret on was written after I got back from Indiana. But yeah, that was that scene. Okay, I wanted to hug you when Damien drove. Oh, thank you. You hear a pin drop. What was my favorite storyline this season? Oh gosh. Um, this season, my favorite storyline. It's hard to answer that because I'm a writer and an actor. And as an actor, of course, it's Damien and Nathan. I mean, I don't know why it resonates with me so much. Well, I sort of know why, but I have to have some secrets. That as an actor was my favorite. My favorite as like a writer was um, probably the two-part wedding episode because it was like it reminded me of remember Dynasty? Not so much Dallas, but Dynasty, every so often they'd have some big party and all the storylines would kind of like collide and ricochet and, everyone bounced off each other and it was a chance to get everybody in the same room at the same time. So as a writer, that was my favorite. As a producer, and just as a viewer, probably and this is like asking me to name my favorite children, but it would probably be the hotel scene with Brad and Ross, Kurt, and David. I wasn't there when they shot it, but I kept getting texts from Lauren saying, "Oh my God, you're gonna love this! It's so funny," and he was right. I love that whole like the whole setup and the storyline. So yeah, that would be my favorite as a producer. Kurt crying. Oh gosh, that was a surprise. I originally wrote that thinking it would be like comedic crying, like oh, you know, um, and I wasn't there when he shot that. And when I saw it, Arvin and I were both kind of like, "Oh my God!" Actually, the first time I saw it, I thought it was funny, and then Arvin said, "No, Leon, watch it again," and I did, and it's like, "Oh my God!" To me, it struck much more like an addict kind of having a realization. And it was actually Arvin's idea to add the message from Zay because he thought it was very. Because I was like saying, we had some scenes, some like angles of his sex scene with Rod from the third episode that we hadn't used. And I said, well, you know what? If he's going to cry like that, and if we're going to go there, let's go there. Let's take one of those unused scenes, insert it there so it looks like Brad does sleep with Rod. And then, so he is really crying about him, being weak or whatever. And Arvin was pretty pretty adamant that that probably wasn't a good idea. And I think Arvin, as per usual, was right because it would have that would have been really bleak and would have painted us in a corner that it's going to be hard to go back to being a comedy after this episode anyway. So yeah, Arvin, another brilliant, brilliant choice by Arvin. Let me get caught up here. Oh God, Emily, you scared me. The line about the hospital. Um, oh, who would walk away from Zay? He's the best. We were just chatting on Facebook right before I came on, and great guy. He's just great. Yeah, Kurt is wonderful, wonderful in that scene, and in just a short time. I mean, really, because when you watch it in the rough cut before we had the inserts of the laptop, it's really what 30 seconds of Kurt Brad doing that. And it's funny. That's always the point where I cry now. Even now when I watch the episode, and I don't watch it that much. Um, that's if I haven't started crying before then, that moment with Kurt is the thing that pushes me over the edge. Um, in the special, can we see more of Michael dancing? I don't. The one thing I don't have is outtakes or bloopers. Because there's so much footage. It's stored on 2 or 3 giant hard drives in Arvin's apartment, and to actually go through those. Arvin was nice enough to do it the first season because we only had 4 episodes, and it even that took him weeks. So I mean, we'll have bloopers eventually because I know there's a great shot of Damien throwing me the helmet and it going right through my arms. It was like a field goal. So we'll get that eventually, but we don't have outtakes for the special. We have some other season 1 stuff. Well, you'll just see. There's lots of stuff you haven't seen before. Um, Michael was great though. You guys were great. The best background. You guys are cracking me up. I've got to figure out a way to get Michael in the show. I think he'd be great as Damien's brother. Maybe he could be a straight, uptight brother. They're both Italian and tall. Um, here go away ads. Yeah, horrible ads. I love working with Bruce, and he's such a nice guy. We had a blast at dinner last night. He's so nice and conscientious. It's almost annoying. And yeah, I really like. I see. I'm starting to fall asleep. If I fall asleep during the chat, that will be a first. Um, what character do I? Which character do I like to write for the most? I see. I'll let you all know. I told Jason he's in charge if I like start to zone out. He has to like get me on track. So, what character do I like to write for the most? Is Brad. He's the easiest because I mean he has no censor. He'll say anything. He doesn't care what people say or how they react. So that he's yeah by far. Um, I really liked writing Damien for some reason. And yeah, and Nathan's the toughest to write for, and I don't know if it's because I'm writing it for me or well, I've said that before on talk shows, so I won't bore you again. Um, anything about the series I regret? That's a really good question. Well, it depends on how Barbara Walters you want to get, and I can't say names, but I've lost a couple friends who were involved with the show earlier on. Um, and I'm not going to give you names because you'll be going on Facebook. But yeah, that's one thing I regret. You should not always work with friends, and because it doesn't always work out. Fortunately, there's only been 1 or 2. That's really the only regret. It's pretty much all feeling kind of blessed. Um, do the actors have any input into the storylines? They didn't so much before because pretty much everything except the last 2 episodes were drafted at least before we even cast it. Um, they have certainly input with lines. Kurt particularly. Just about every episode had 1 or 2 lines that he asked to add, and I usually say yes because yeah, they're always good. The only time I think the only time I can remember saying no is right before the pool fight. He has the line, Nathan hasn't had a date since the Reagan administration. And I can't remember what he wanted to replace it with. It was a good line, but I thought because we were just about to like go right into a dynasty thing from the '80s, the Reagan era, that let's just leave that little, and it probably wouldn't have mattered if we had replaced it, but actors are very touchy sometimes. Um, where did the original idea for the show come from? It came from a lot of different places. Not all of them I wanted, maybe. Well, yeah. Mostly it came from just I worked tons in San Francisco as an actor, and it was like the timing of moving to LA, becoming sort of an unknown again at an advanced age, mid 40s, and going from working all the time to not only being like an unknown thing, but like an old unknown thing, and thinking I've got to do something about this, and feeling just discouraged about LA in general, and just wanting to do something also so that when I turn 50, which happens next month, oh my God, I've been so busy, I haven't even thought about that. Oh my God. Uh, anyway, yeah, I wanted to do something so I would not have that reaction when I wake up on my 50th birthday. So, that was kind of the spark of it. Plus, also for years wanting to like exploit internet, because it is the future, and it's in our hands right here. So that was kind of the original idea. I will admit to being somewhat inspired by Sex in the City. It's not like I sat down and went, oh, I'm going to create a gay Sex in the City. Lawrence and I watched that show quite a bit. Well, we watched it weekly when it was on, and I always really liked. Hi, Char Char. There's my puppy. I always liked their. You really, really got a sense of them being friends, and then that was one thing I wanted to convey. Because actually, I'll tell you this story. Actually, the movie Sex in the City, the first one. It has that montage at the beginning where they talk about all the characters and sort of set everything up. Well, when I moved to LA, I left two or three really good friends behind, and one of them, Jeffrey Hartgraves, shortly after I moved to LA, got malignant melanoma, and put up a really good fight for years. But when he passed, I don't know, just something about that resonated. I remember seeing the movie shortly after that. You want to see my puppy? And get him all tangled in wires? Seeing the movie after that and being really kind of moved by just I don't know. It just hit me, and that was really I wanted to do something to kind of honor that kind of friendship kind of thing. But no narration, no narration. Absolutely not. I didn't want to get, you know. Yes, I do blush occasionally. Um, oh yeah, Michael is Damien's brother. Maybe I can make a sandwich. Least moment, least favorite moment about the series. Um, Gosh, you're good, Chantel. You should be. Least favorite thing about least favorite moment. There have been. I can't like isolate a specific one moment. Um, Probably about this time last year, when we weren't sure if we'd have a second season or not, and just a variety of things were going badly, and because the show is like so like into the fiber of my life and being now, I still think of that as a show moment. Although it wasn't a moment, it was a period. That was tough. But we're back, so Damien like a young Leon. Do you mean is Damien like a young Leon? Um, no, not really. Although it's going to be hard to believe, I actually did grow up on um, motorcycles and horses. We did a lot of horseback riding and biking when I was a kid growing up. So yes, I can ride a motorcycle. It's been a while, but I wish I had Damien's cool. I wish I had been that cool now, much less at 25. I think Damien's pretty goddamn cool. Do I have lots of more ideas for the more seasons? I have lots of ideas for more seasons. Um, the challenge I'm having right now is fitting those ideas. Um, well, I mean, God forbid if I shouldn't put the cart before the horse because I mean I'm gonna be honest. Season three is it's gonna take something of a miracle to make it happen. But the challenge is knowing if we do get more, it's going to be, at best another 10 episodes. And how much of the year's worth of storylines can I squeeze into those 10 episodes? So that's. What are some of my favorite things that fans have done to support the show? Videos from Julie and Catherine were cool. I'm loving this. Oh, and we were going to pick a winner of, speaking of which, the Old Dogs Who Look Like Old Dogs contest, and I'm just so frickin' fried and I'm disorganized. I want it to be a popular vote from people on Facebook, so I'll take care of that tomorrow. We're not gonna worry about it. But we will get to that. But the lots of my favorite thing I have to say is just the interaction with the viewers. I don't like to say fans because we talk almost daily now, a lot of us, so fan doesn't seem appropriate. And I would say friend if I would like meet y'all, but being from Indiana, it seems weird to say someone's a friend when you haven't actually met them. Although, but so yeah, even viewer now seems a little outdated or incorrect. Where was I going with this? Oh my God, Jason, reel me in. I'm absolutely. Who was my biggest inspiration? Do you mean from just in the show, um, or just in my own life? Which, my God, maybe I can like separate that a little bit now. Biggest inspiration. I have a lot of people who inspire me. Um, in general, they tend to be the actors who stick it out. That's one of the reasons I love Stockard Channing because she's been hot and she's been not, and then she's been hot again and been not again. Um, I love Jeremy Irons until his idiotic, stupid comment about gay marriage. He's off the list. He was kind of a role model. Steve Buscemi. I'd love to play his brother sometime. Um, oh my gosh, Glenn has another great idea. Glenn's the one who suggested the calendar. He just on Facebook said maybe we could have a calendar signing once it's published. Um, the what am I? Everyone. Actually, no, I could. Actually, you tell me. The one part of my body I could show off. The abs are still, okay. So maybe an open shirt. I could do beefcake. Well, it would be diet beefcake. But yeah. Anyway. Okay, now I scrolled up too far. Was it fun to shoot with the legends Terry, Patrick, Greg? It not only was it fun, but it was really a good lesson. I've only been in LA less than 10 years, and I haven't done a lot of like big stuff. It's been mostly student films because I thought if I like worked with these kids when they were in college and impressed them, they might call me back when they're actually out there working. Um, and a lot of theater. I haven't really worked with celebrities. So, I'm a victim of the usual propaganda, expecting them to be pushy and bitchy and demanding, and they've all been exactly the opposite. There's not been one. The only problem was Greg's schedule is off the hook, and it took a lot of work because the wedding had every single person in those episodes. That was tough to schedule, but it had nothing to do with him personally. He's just a busy guy. So that was really the only downside. I loved working with all of them. It was great to see how gracious they all are, especially with the wedding. Ian and Greg both. I mean, we had a lot of background, and it's also a credit to the people who did our background is that they weren't like, they were very respectful and polite to them. And in return, Greg and Ian were both really gracious to everyone and post for photos, and as you've seen if you're on Facebook, yeah, they were all really cool. Scrolling back down. I hate how this thing jumps. Um, I like the friendship. That to me is the core of the show and what I always want to keep it at. And um, yeah, I was a little concerned after seeing the finale, and I've actually talked to this to a couple of friends that was concerned that it was, the show's supposed to be about four old dogs, and I was a little concerned we were making it more about one old dog, his two young boyfriend, and his three other old friends. But no, I think it's still keeping the balance, and we're one idea I do have for if God forbid there is a third season. Don't get me. If there is a third season, I do want it to focus a little more also on their professional lives. I think we sort of gave that short shrift. And a lot of the challenges from being middle aged are in your professional lives and careers and such. So that's you asked earlier ideas for upcoming seasons. That's one thing we would do in a third season if we're lucky enough to get it. And it's scrolling up. Okay. I feel like friends to you, Steve, and Nora, and so many of you. I mean, even though we haven't met face to face, I feel like we know each other pretty well. So I am going to have to revise my whole definition of the word friend. Um, I'm scrolling back up because it keeps jumping to the top or to the bottom, and I'm missing everything in between. Okay, here we go. Puppy, remember the time. Okay, I'm getting through the. So, if you thought about the inevitable third season flashback episode, as a matter of fact, I have. I don't know if it will be in the third season because, again, if we only have so much time. See, I even hesitate to even talk about a third season because it's kind of getting my hopes up as much as yours. But I would like to do a flashback where we go back to the evening where the first evening the four guys got together for the first time. I'm thinking it would be um, Nathan, because Muscles is the one that Nathan met last. He's known Muscles the least amount of time. So I figured he meets Muscles and arranges a dinner party to hook or to fix Muscles up with Ross. But then when Ross shows up, he brings his brand new boyfriend Neil. And it would be a very awkward dinner. But the thing is, I think in the pilot, Nathan met Muscles. Well, he says that he's been his trainer for 5 years, so it wouldn't be a huge flashback, but one we could pull off because I think we might be a little long in the tooth for to go back to the '80s again. As much as I would love to do an '80s flashback. And yes, I'm having another cigarette, and if I can find matches, and of course the lighter does not work. Wait, you guys were here. Didn't you see where I put the matches? Tell me. I am absolutely one of those crazy people now. I'll flip right back up to the top at 7:34. Okay. I'm reading, I'm scrolling, I'm browsing. Calendar, diet beefcake. Oh, God, I'm way behind. Thank you, Emily. Pevsner would love the beefcake. He actually did some when we were shooting the first season for not for Frontiers, but Frontiers published them. Here we go. It was a photo spread of sexy men over 50. Perfect timing. And he was in a jockstrap and on a couch, and it was sexy. He would, you know. Well, actually, both of them, Jeffrey and David, and Kurt's. Kurt's a former gymnast, and what do you call someone who does a flying trapeze? We'll call them a gymnast. No, yeah, Pevsner is actually one of the actors who's already said, yeah, I'll do it. So Kurtz said he'll do it. Amanda, we'll have 1 month for Amanda, and she's got those bodacious tatas, and she's in. So Chantel, I think you are the youngest. You're the youngest one in the chat. We actually have Valentin in Uruguay. I think is officially our youngest fan. He's 18. I just hope he's telling me the truth because if he's younger than that, I will feel very bad. Mm. I really would love people to get a wider audience. One of the problems also we're having with getting numbers on web TV is that web TV is predominantly by, for, and about young kids, and so that's another challenge. But my feeling is, you didn't have to be 60 and a woman to like Golden Girls. If it's funny and if it's specific, I really do think that people can get into it. I think the biggest challenge for us is getting people who don't think of web TV yet, because there are millions, much more people don't watch web TV than do. And until I started, thinking about creating it, I'd never watched web. I'd watched the occasional cute cat video, but I never watched web TV until I started thinking about doing one. It didn't even occur to me that that was an option. And now there are kids who they've never watched TV any other way. So anyway, no more ads. We went through. I know. I'm going to end the evening by singing "I'm Still Here" from is it Follies? I feel like this is, yeah. I have to say, part of, I say that way too much. I have to say, I have to say. I'm going to stop having to say, I have to say. Um, it's been like rolling a boulder up a mountain for the past couple of years. So it's, I do feel kind of a bit of I'm still here. And that was a exaggerated voice. That's not my really singing voice. Um, a dinner with Neil would be awkward. I don't think Neil likes us. He ad-libbed that line, in the argument over the credits about those three bitches. I was like in the next room while he was doing it. I was like standing there going, yeah, 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 yeah. So cool. Yeah, I don't think Neil, and that's a credit to Doug when I first talked to him, I said, you don't have to play this as a heavy. You don't have to be unlikable. But that was really kind of his choice. Uh, I don't think Neil's unlikable. Some people have really reacted strongly to him, but I just think he's a guy who. My personal theory is okay, inside the writer's head, my theory is that Neil works his heart out of love. Because and this is backstory, it's not really talked about in the show yet, but it's one thing that will come up if, please, we have a third season and they either try to make up or completely split up. I cannot keep the cigarette left to save my life because I can't stop talking long enough to smoke it. My theory is that when they first met and Neil first moved in with Ross, Neil was in grad school or going back to get his master's, and Ross was still, having a pretty viable career, even though it was after the series Max and Me was over. So, now they've been together about 10 years. Ross is kind of not working much, so Neil feels like it's his time to, row the boat. And I think that's kind of honorable. But I'm from the generation whose dads were like that, the dads were never around, they were busy working to support the family. So I don't think Neil's a bad guy, but I apparently seem to be the only one who feels that way. So, anyway. Um, I've quit smoking so many times. I don't live in WeHo. I live in West LA where we can smoke. Well, almost anywhere. I blew smoke in your faces. Now I'm going to have to clean my pristine virgin laptop. What do you mean, Julie? I have your niece, your uncle, cousins, elementary school friends. Oh, you mean watching the show? Yeah, it's Ben who's 63. It's we really have to, and I think that's the biggest challenge. And I'm not quite sure how to do it when you're on web TV. How do you get people to web TV who aren't on web TV if you're trying to do it via web TV? I don't know. So any ideas would be great. That's why we did the Entertainment Weekly campaign. Um, God, that was only 2 months ago. Does that not seem like forever? But yeah, that's why we did that. Um, a musical dream sequence. We're actually, I would love to do a musical episode, but I just don't know if God, if please, we are able to do a third season. I don't know if we would have the resources to pull that off because you're talking like, musicians and Pevsner has volunteered to write the music. And Amanda's mother, Janet, who wrote her parodies, or well, all the songs she sang in this season, said we could use her stuff. So the music's out there. I just, again, it's like if we're lucky enough to have a third season, I'm gonna like want to relish those 10 episodes and get as much story, like essential plot stuff, as much as I'd love to do a flashback and musical stuff. If we are limited, I want to keep the story moving forward. So, what is Neil's job in the show that has him travel so much? That I have to admit, that's one of those things that, as a TV viewer, when I would see this on TV shows, I would go ape shit. But he started out, Neil officially first was an event planner, like officially with Disney. But at some point, I can't even remember when it changed. I think it was actually Doug who had the idea that he was a publicist, that he was in PR, which I think is much. It's yeah. I mean, both fields are demanding, but Doug looks great in a suit, so I thought, yeah, okay. Um, Steve asks, was I worried about how people would take the blank blank marriage speech? Um, Actually, I was, and that's one of the reasons I put the no hate thing that I asked Arvin to add that thing on the end of the end credits to just sort of atone for that. But I'm hoping, we didn't catch any flack. I thought we might, but we didn't. I could understand why we would, but I also know why we shouldn't. Because, I mean, the great thing about freedom and a democracy is that you can do it if you want to, and you don't have to if you don't. And that's something all these, like, straight anti gay marriage people need to realize, too, that it has absolutely nothing to do with them. I've been saying that phrase a lot lately, and some of you, and that's for those of you who know the reasons why I've been saying that phrase a lot lately. That's how I've been saying it. It has absolutely nothing to do with me. I sound like Lisa Kudrow. Steve, bye, Steve. Oh, hot friend. Have fun. Take notes. Send me details. We hate Neil. He's selfish beyond acceptability. Responsibility does not excuse his cold. Well, that again, that's I think some of Doug's choice was that, which I'm okay with. Again, I don't think Neil's bad. He might be cold. He might be distant. Um, but me being an actor and Lawrence being, I start to say my partner, but you all know him already. We've had periods where it was just, you never see each other and it's just on the phone. And after a while, it's not because you're mad at each other. It's just hard to keep that energy and excitement up when all you do is talk on the phone. So I'm okay with the way he plays it. Love you, Steve. Bye. Yeah, I love the song. I love both the songs, and I when we were I think it was after we were finished shooting, but before we really started putting it together. Um, I was listening to a lot of music, and those were really the two songs that I thought, oh my God, either one of these would be perfect for the ending. And I'm really glad that thanks to Derek and Arvin, I didn't have to choose. That they managed to work them both in. By and by the way, Taiwo Hurd, who wrote and sang Eternal Night, is coincidentally our sound guy on set. And I Am Eve, and spoke to the writer of the song, Carrie Randall, is a friend of Kurt's. So it's all family. It's all about, if you're wondering how to do a web series or how to pull this off, just ask your friends. Who do you know? Do you know anyone who we could, do you know anyone who, and, you'll find people who want to work. Who do you need to woo in LA to get season 3 going? Anybody you can. Anyone who has, See, part of the thing is, if we had come back the second season and like doubled our audience like that, and it's kind of we're a victim of the first season's success. People don't realize while the first season's been up a year, that's how they got into 5-digit view numbers, which I think season two will reach. But I think there's an expectation by certain parties that you have to double or it's nothing, which is probably where the expression comes from. So that it does kind of rule out any sort of, you know, I don't even know what the expression would be, outside production influences. I don't know. I'm so tired. So, and the other thing is that we've done three Indiegogo campaigns now for the pilot for season one and season two, and each time they're tougher because when we started there were only a few. Now there are so many Indiegogo campaigns. You cannot go on Facebook without having someone ask you for money, and if I had the money I would give to everyone, but I can't and don't. And so I feel kind of shitty, going on saying, well, I don't give to you, and give to me. It's just it sticks in my craw, and I know Arvin's not that comfortable with it. Um, Right now, we're sort of thinking, well, if we could raise half the budget privately, then maybe we do an Indiegogo campaign for the other half. But all right, we're getting a little too maudlin. Let's go back to questions. Um, what was the overall most touching scene for you? Um, for me as an actor, it's the last scene in today's episode with Ryland. And I'm not that crazy about my work in that scene, and it's my fault entirely. I think Ryland is brilliant in that scene. And at the time, it's funny, when he auditioned with that scene, I remember having to really restrain myself because I wanted to get into that, and you don't really do that when you're reading with an actor on an audition because you don't know what they've kind of, if